Hey everyone, welcome. Today is August 31st, and this is the bi-weekly SIG Instrumentation meeting. We have one agenda item right now. So Damien, you want to kick us off?
Yep. So it's a bit of a cross-SIG topic that I have for today. I guess it's 10% SIG instrumentation, 90% autoscaling, but I still wanted to run the idea that we are with George. So like essentially the context is that we've been working with George for like a year and a half or maybe a bit more, because George is the maintainer of KEDA and I maintain Prometheus adapter and metric server. And the problem we were both facing is that today with the metrics API, no matter which one it is, you have the limitation of the aggregated API. You can only have one consumer or like producer of the API, meaning that if you have two providers of external metrics, let's say you want to use for some reason KEDA and then Prometheus adapter. That's not the best example, but that could be. So you have two providers that both have different type of metrics, and you want to use both of them in your autoscaling because they have different capabilities. And like a lot of users were complaining about that, the fact that they were tied to only one provider. KEDA solves a bit the issue because it allows for way more type of scalers and providers than Prometheus adapter, for example, but still KEDA is running into some issues. For example, I read that GKE doesn't allow for users to provide metrics on the external metrics endpoint because they are already serving something over it. There is the use case with Datadog where users want to be able to provide metrics to autoscaling platform via both KEDA and Datadog, but they are not able to do that. And the other use case that I personally have is that since I want to archive Prometheus adapter at some point, I need to provide users with a way to migrate away from it. And in order to do that without causing any disruption, the best would be to have a way to switch the API server, like the aggregated API provider at runtime. And like if we were able to run both KEDA and Prometheus adapter in parallel, and then let users switch their HPA to get metrics from KEDA instead of Prometheus adapter, that would be like pretty easy for them and won't cause any disruption. So that would be ideal for that case as well. And so far, like the thing we came up with was mostly around creating a proxy that would then dispatch requests to like two different providers of the metrics API. But that's not ideal because that would mean that users still need to create new resources, like it's invasive in some way, and we will need to write the proxy. That's a bit of work, and like since it's only a problem with the metrics API and not any kind of aggregated API, because normally you only have one provider of a resource, we couldn't add it in the API server either. So proxy was our only solution until a couple of weeks ago when George had the brilliant idea of maybe splitting metrics API via subdomain. So let's say we have external metrics. What if we had like Prometheus adapter dot external metrics and then KEDA dot external metrics, and then add logic inside of the HPA controller to select which provider to get metrics from. And the idea would be to then add inside of the HPA itself, like the HPA object, add a way to specify the subdomain, and then let the controller select however it wants. So that would be a bit crazy idea that I wanted to pitch you guys and see what were your thoughts on that.
Would there be a default? Like how,
yeah,
if there's two registered, how do you figure out which one to use by default?
Yeah, the reasoning to me is that we would still have to have at least one provider that would serve external .metrics.ktest.io, for example, like the normal endpoint, so that, for example, for the resource metrics, you still want kubectl top to get resource usage, and you want it to be simple because it's in the client, and you don't want to necessarily have all the users to specify the subdomain. So I would, like still require user to have at least one API service targeting the normal endpoint.
Yeah, the idea I have for this point for the default value is just somehow adding a low rule in the validation in the API service registration for allowing the subdomain, but for already working metric servers like Keda, Prometheus, Datadog, whatever, as they won't change from one day to another, they will continue registering external or custom.metrics.io. So if any subdomain is set, just go into the default API service like until now. And if a subdomain is specified, subdomain / annotation / whatever in the HPA controller and also in Kubernetes API service registration. And for routing, if they have that extra value as default, going to through the current approach. But if there is that extra subdomain provided, however, routing to the other API service. Just for, as Demian has said, for not having a unique endpoint for them. Because the other option is just having wildcard.metrics.io, but it could be more disruptive with the current approach of metrics for internal metrics, custom metrics for custom metrics, and external for any external metric source. And also for the tooling, because suddenly could happen somebody.metrics.io and could be strange for all the tooling around Kubernetes.
Han, any thoughts? Otherwise, I have one other. So one other question. Did you consider making, it sounds like there's, sorry for not remembering the name of the project. It's Keda. What's the
Keda.
name? Keda? Okay.
Yep.
Have we considered, it sounds like we want a lot of people to move to Keda, at least from Prometheus adapter. Have we considered building the proxy capability into Keda so that you would first tell Keda to basically redirect to Prometheus adapter, and then
the problem,
go for it.
We thought about the proxy, as Demian has explained. The problem with the proxy is it's another single point of failure for any metric, anything querying the metric, but also it's an external component that users could reject to use. And also you need to prepare a migration path for, and sometimes that's not easy because, for example, GCP uses external metrics for backupping stuff. So you need to introduce your proxy there and being sure that you are not breaking the backup system that Google has built on top of external metrics. So it's risky because a lot of people fail.
Do you guys have a doc on this by any chance?
Oh, yeah, we have a draft.
Is there a document?
There is a draft here. Let me put it in the chat and then in the.
Oh, great. I just process information a lot better if I read it.
Yeah, it's still unformatted. It's like the cap format.
Oh, I don't have access to it. Can you give me access or?
Oh, yeah. I'm doing it public.
Oh, great.
But I wonder in the case of clouds, if even all the cloud provider or the would allow you to reroute external metrics. Because if there is already an API service and you don't have access to change it, you won't be able to put your proxy in front of whatever they have today. Like if you go with the proxy route.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think the subdomain actually would make it much easier for cloud providers, because then you could just always install your. I remember.
Yeah, you could
discussions.
just like plug your thing and then be mostly done.
It's like you have
And
your
it's
own
not very
subdomain.
intrusive. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that
I
would
like
be the idea, I guess. Yeah, I guess the next step for us, like we just wanted to kind of present it here to get some feedback, but then we will present it to SIG autoscaling, and then I guess the cap will
What-
be mostly autoscaling, maybe. Yeah, go ahead, Aaron.
What happens if we do this change? Does it break existing users?
No, because we still, the idea is that we will keep the current path as like the default, and then the subdomain would be kind of like similar to plugins that you would just add on top of the existing. And then by specifying the subdomain in your HPA object, you would be able to tell the HPA controller like which like
Metric server to use?
source you want metrics from. Yeah, exactly.
Like, but if people make no changes to their existing setups, will stuff continue to work? That
Yes.
is what I'm asking.
It's
Okay,
opt-in,
so
right?
that backward compatibility is kind of important, right? Because if we're
Yeah,
talking about
definitely.
making a change that breaks people, that's different than making a change that makes things extensible. I
Yeah.
support it as long as like we maintain backwards compatibility and people don't have to use it unless they want to use it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the goal as well. Like we want to keep that.
Hana, I think it actually would be really nice for like GK or AKS or stuff where
Yeah, it sounds great.
we've always wanted to enable the external metrics provider by default, but we can't because it conflicts with like Prometheus.
Yeah,
and
the
other
collision.
community
Yeah,
stuff.
the collision. Yeah,
So
path
this would
collision.
give us a way to do that, which would be really nice.
Awesome. Then I guess that was all for our topics. Thanks for the feedback. It was valuable for sure.
Okay, are there any other topics people want to discuss today?
I updated the upcoming dates with the release for 1.29. I think we have a couple caps coming. We were graduating component SLIs. Rich has a couple caps, right?
Kubelet resource metrics.
Keep kubelet resource metrics to GA. Is there anything else? That's it. Okay, so just the two caps, and then I think it looks like Pranchu is not here, but Pranchu said he was going to be taking over. Was it like graduating metric server or something? He said he was going to take
No.
it from you, Damien.
So the thing you wanted to take from me was the events.
Oh yeah, the
migrating to
event.
the-
Yeah, event API. Yeah,
yeah.
he wants to take over.
But I think I will discuss it with him again because we started working on the events. Like we had a long meeting about it. But I think now kubestate metric configuration is more important. Like we've had issue with it. So I think I will try to see with him like if we should not just focus on kubestate metric this release and then do the event later because events are not urgent and we can do that anytime. I guess that's it. What happened to the the discussion we had 2 weeks ago about the update, like keeping the state of the, or like keeping the status of the controllers during upgrades or something like that?
Oh, yes. Yeah, we need some solution for figuring out health check information for components. Right? Because, okay, I don't know if you guys have read this, but hold on, let me share this with you. So this is coming. And this is a small part of stuff that we have planned for improving upgrades in Kubernetes. And a portion of this work involves ensuring that components don't become unhealthy during the upgrade process. And if they do become unhealthy, automatically rolling back the binary.
Yep.
So we can do this in each individual, we can make a library out of this, I suppose. Like one way we could do it is like to create a library that analyzed a component's own metrics. So it would call its own metrics endpoint, sample it, and then basically store like a circular buffer in memory of like the last number of health checks so that we can do statistical analysis on like windowing without Prometheus. Because we don't want Prometheus as a dependency for being able to safely upgrade a Kubernetes cluster. That would not be desirable because some people don't use Prometheus.
I wonder if it would make sense to have a controller doing that in KCM, for example.
The problem is
like some kind of upgrade lifecycle thingy that would check.
The problem is the
state
controller manager only talks to API server. It does not talk to etcd, for instance, or kubelets.
Oh yeah, you would have to give more.
You basically need this in each component. You need this in each component. And controller manager doesn't talk to scheduler either. So you just basically need a library and you need to put it in each component. Like they can report their status of their health checks to a CRD in the API server. That is a potential design. Right? And then basically the upgrader orchestrator could read from the CRD and then but I'm having a conversation today with some API machinery folks about making like a component registration thing, and this will be a part of the discussion. But I think we are probably the most appropriately suited SIG to actually work on the instrumentation bits of this, right? Because it kind of makes sense. So let me circle back next meeting. I'll put this on the agenda, and then like after I get a little bit of clarity on component registration, we can think about the flows and spitball a little bit.
That's good.
Cool.
All right, any other topics? Awesome. Then
Nope.
You can get 8 minutes back. I'll see everyone next week for triage.
Yep. See you everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.